Hello, welcome. I'm doing a live today because I just felt called to. I also felt called to do it with no makeup, no Instagram filters, which I love. Just me looking how I look today, no makeup. Um, Having kind of a lower day, feeling a little tired, and I just want to be raw, I want to be real, and I want to show up as myself. And as somebody who struggles and has struggled with chronic fatigue for literally years. So, if you're watching now or you're watching later, thank you for that. Um, just say hello and yeah, just let me know that you are here. And hopefully, this video helps you if you're somebody who is also struggling with chronic fatigue. I'd love to hear from you. And in on my channel we talk about a lot of different things, feelings, trauma, chronic issues. I guess that's more of a newer thing that I talk about. Lots of different things, healing for the most part. And so if that's the kind of topic that's of interest to you, click the subscribe button and share any of my videos with people that you think could really benefit from them. I can't promise that it's going to be quiet in the background, um, but we'll do our best. So I kind of just tried to gather some notes just about my journey because it has been so long. Uh, it's been long and it's been like something that I've never really shared about. I think the reason I never really shared about it is because I am a coach, I am a healer, and I felt there was some negative stigma around being a coach, being a healer, and having some sort of issue. In my trauma-like brain, my brain that has dealt with trauma my whole life, overcoming it, I should say. I have a strong perfectionist part that, comes up anytime I try to do something out of the ordinary and is like, don't show that part of yourself because that's not perfect, and people aren't going to want to work with you if you're not perfect. And so I've had to work through that. That's a bunch of bullshit, as I know consciously. And it's honestly something I help people with because this perfectionist part can be so debilitating and it keeps us from bringing great work out into the world. So I definitely have that. And so there has been some stigma of like not really showing that I have this like issue in my life. And I'm just more now about like being real and like sharing my experience because it's always just in my opinion, from my personal life, people respond the most to things I'm struggling with, things I'm going through that I share. People respond the most to. So if you're a coach watching this, or a healer, or somebody that works with clients in some fashion, and you, like my past self, think that you can't be raw and real and authentic and share in any areas of your life where you may be struggling, I just want to speak to you and say, just start doing it in baby steps. But the more you do it, the more you feel safe. It's actually starts to rewire your system as well. So that's my little caveat there. Excuse me while I put my hair up because it's just kind of bothering me. Um, So let's talk about my journey with chronic fatigue. And I really look tired today. So this is vulnerable in and of itself for me to come on and do something live and not like have makeup on and look a certain way. But again, I'm just like full transparency, full like, let's just put it all out there. So, what has it been like for me? What's been my experience? I first, before I get into like what it's been like, I just want to share that I definitely think the chronic fatigue that I suffer from, and that I think a lot of people that suffer from chronic fatigue have an issue of, is trauma. Okay. Trauma is at the root of the issues live in our tissues. So I had done a lot of work emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but I did tons of yoga, but I didn't really direct that yoga towards trauma, right? I didn't move my body when I was feeling a certain way, which is what I teach people now. So, even though I was doing a lot of yoga and yoga has been shown to help people with trauma, it I don't think was effective for me personally because I wasn't directing it towards how I was feeling or in some specific way directed towards the trauma. So the issues live in our tissues. There's a lot of evidence. I'm now reading the book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a fantastic book on trauma if you are interested in that topic. And through the works of people like Peter Levine, who does somatic experiencing, we learn that there are different ways we can regulate our nervous systems and bring ourselves out of fight or flight states that we may be stuck in unconsciously and begin to regulate our nervous systems more. And so that's really the work that I'm really interested in. And so I've lived in like a dysregulated nervous system my whole life, from childhood trauma that I experienced and then having some trauma happen when I was 29. I was drunk at a party, very, very drunk. I'm 41 now, so like just to put the timeline on that, this didn't just happen yesterday, but I was very drunk at a party and ended up passing out, and somebody took advantage of me at that party. And so it's from that experience specifically that I remember, like maybe 4 to 5 months after that, I remember being extremely fatigued, extremely, extremely fatigued. So that's the first time I remember it starting. But, as the author of The Body Keeps the Score talks about, the how do I want to say this? The issues that happen when we're children. So if there was trauma, neglect, abandonment, abuse of any sort when you're a child, that makes any traumas that happen to you as an adult harder to come back from because you already have a dysregulated nervous system from being a child of trauma, neglect, again, abuse, abandonment, whatever the case may be. So I already had that working against me. So then when this other trauma happened, which by the way, I think he said it's 33%. You're 33% more likely to have a repetitive trauma like that happen if you experienced some sort of trauma in childhood. So after that experience when I was 29, that's when I started to notice the fatigue. And fast forward years later, I think, I was still young enough at the time, I could kind of move through it, but I'm sure that it bothered me. I mean, I've always kind of struggled with that. And it wasn't until, so that would have been like 2010-ish. So it wasn't until 2016 that it really took me out. And that was when I was diagnosed. I went to the doctor. I went to a natural path doctor, nurse practitioner, and was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. And at that point, I was so burnt out. I had just taught our first yoga teacher training program. I was so in it. Everything had to be so perfect. I was so controlling with the structure of it, and just like probably like had myself in fight or flight the entire time because it had to be perfect, and got really overwhelmed. That's been a pattern of mine my whole life. Like get really, really overwhelmed. Decisions are so hard. Overcomplicate things, overthinking things, overanalyzing things, and just kind of in this state up here at all times where it's like anxiety central. So your nervous system, your body can't remain in that state, right? It's like if if a animal is getting chased, if a little rabbit's getting chased by a wolf and it gets away, it like shakes it out. But it's like running for its life. And so all that cortisol, all the stress response and everything, that pupils dilating, all the energy going to our arms and legs for running or fleeing or fighting, I should say fighting or flighting. Hello to whoever that is that's watching. Um, the animal, this is what Peter Levine studied. He saw that the animals would shake out after that happened. But for us, our nervous systems, if we've been stuck in fight or flight since we were kids, our nervous systems we don't know how to self-regulate. We don't know how to come down out of sympathetic nervous system into parasympathetic, the rest and digest. And so we're just like stuck. Like if it's an on or off switch, that on switch, the on fight or flight, is just stuck on all the time. And we can't self-regulate and get our nervous systems calmed down, our bodies calmed down. And it's so unconscious and it's so normal to live in that state for a lot of us that we don't even realize we're doing it. And so that is where it all started, was after that incident when I was 29. Then again, like I said, 2016, I got diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, and it's just kind of been that way ever since. Um, like I had that kind of wake up call. I made some changes. I started doing a lot of self care, and things got a little bit better. But then, something else happens. And then I was like right back. And then it was a couple years ago that it got really, really bad again, just full on exhausted all the time. And I finally went to another nurse practitioner. They diagnosed me with a thyroid condition, and I got put on thyroid medication. Now, the way she told me this, because I look back on that and I didn't even second guess. I didn't even ask any questions. I was just like, okay, I'm on thyroid medication now. But I was on NP thyroid, which is, the way she described it to me, it's the most holistic based thyroid medication you can be on. It's a pig's thyroid. You're just kind of helping your thyroid, because my numbers were just a little bit low. They weren't autoimmune disorder low, but they were a little bit low. And so I got put on thyroid medication. I got put on some supplements. Everything seemed okay. I got a testosterone pellet in my butt cheek. I know that sounds crazy, but all my hormones were low. My vitamin D was low, and my thyroid was low. And then that was a year and a half ago, about 2 years ago, when I started having the symptoms again pretty bad. It started in 2020. So again, I really think stress turns on this stuff in our body, and then our body just reacts, and then so stress and trauma turn on the genes, or they turn on the stress hormones. They increase the cortisol and all of that, and then we can't live in those states for that long, and so we start to have side effects like chronic fatigue, chronic pain, lots of different things, headaches, just a slew of things. So that's kind of the whole backstory. I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible. I know it's kind of just a long story about my experience, but I will get to the point of where I'm at right now. So what has it been like in the last couple of years for me? I spend a lot of time not with people, uh, which is kind of sad to think about. Even travel, which is one of my favorite things to do. I mean, yes, COVID took part of that away, but also to just take like a short trip here or there, like by plane, I just don't even try to do it, because I know I'm going to be so fatigued that from the jet lag, even if it's just a couple hours, that I just don't even bother. Um, Sometimes weekend trips away are stressful for me, because I know I'll pay for it on the other end if like we stay up late. I don't really go out at night with friends My boyfriend and I will occasionally go out to dinner, but we're usually home by like 9 o'clock, 10 at the absolute, like that's even rare. Um, even on the weekends, I'm pretty much ready for bed by 9 p.m., which, sometimes that just comes with age. I'm now in my 40s, and that I'm okay with. But I hadn't really reflected how the fatigue has affected me, and that, like, I've stopped kind of doing certain things just because I know I'm going to pay for it later. And I'm running a business this whole time. I have a little bit of help, but I don't have a ton of help. And so if I'm wiped out during the week, then I can't really be the face of my business. And so it's definitely affected my business. It's affected my creativity because if I'm really tired, then I can't be creative. I'm trying to get my book completed, but that takes creativity. And if you're exhausted, like I have the energy to show up to what I need to show up to, like client calls where I have to teach, if I have a program running, I can do all that. But anything outside of that can sometimes be really exhausting. Um, a lot of times, I just spend time in bed just kind of watching TV because it's almost like I just need to rest. Sometimes I'm not so tired that I'm not sleeping all the time by any means. In fact, a lot of times I'm up in the middle of the night. So it's like my sleep schedule's kind of been all over the place. Occasionally I'll take a nap, but I do more just resting where I'm just laying in bed, sometimes watching TV just to be laid flat and not really thinking. And then sometimes I bring my computer in and I'll do different work in there while I'm in bed. So I've been extremely grateful to have my own business, to be able to work when I can, because I don't know how I would do it if I had to be at a job full time. So I don't know how people do that. Um, my work really works with me, so that's pretty amazing. But how does it make me feel? Like sometimes I'll tell my boyfriend, "Oh, I'm really tired," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm tired too." And it's like it's not even tired. It's like a debilitating. It's like a dark cloud just kind of washes over, and I'm just so tired. I can't. It's like the me that I normally am, who is energetic and motivated and has passion for what I do, and I love learning more and more. And it's like she leaves the room, and literally feel just kind of numb. I feel like nothing, and I just feel like I don't want to do anything. I don't care about anything. I just feel like I'm kind of floating. Um, and I lose interest in what I typically love. And so my doctor wanted to put me on depression medication because of this, because I was describing to him how it feels, and that kind of sounds like depression. And to me, it's like there's got to be something more going on than just my serotonin is low in those moments. So I've kind of not went down that road because I get some highs, and then it's like I kind of go back into this low. And I really believe in the power of changing our diet and eating, cleansing, and all that kind of thing. So I'll talk more about that in just a second. Again, I haven't hung out with my friends much because unless it's during the day, by the evening time, I'm too tired. And sometimes if I feel really kind of blob like, then I don't really feel like I have much to offer in a conversation. So I don't really want to hang out with people. So it's really affected my personal life, my career, my social life, all kinds of things. And I say all this, but I'm sounding like it's like I'm should be in an infirmary, like I don't know. But I still have plenty of moments where I'm myself too. Like it's not like that 24/7. So I've kind of taken it as this time to be still, be quiet, to learn to self regulate my nervous system because, it's my belief personally that things happen for a reason. and that sometimes our greatest pains become our greatest joys when we use them to help other people. And so through this fatigue, it's really taught me I can't be like being up and being happy and being joyful 24/7 is not sustainable and it's not realistic for anyone. And that we have moments that go like this emotionally, mentally, and physically, and that it's okay. It's okay to have those. And it's brought me deeper compassion with myself, even though it's also brought on this like almost anxiety and fear, because when I do feel this exhaustion, it's like I get really scared that it's going to last for a long time and that I'm not going to be able to get anything done, but that's never the case. So it's really helped me in somatic experiencing. They call it orienting, I believe. It's not orienting. Tracking, no. Resiliency, one of those things. I don't even know. But it's where you teach your nervous system that like you can feel states of discomfort and that you will come back to calm. So it's in a way taught me that there are these times where I'm pushing against this edge and I feel really uncomfortable, but it's taught me that I do come back to feeling good again. It might take a whole day, but it's also taught me just deeper self-love, like really honoring my experience and honoring how I feel and not making it wrong and not shaming myself, because that was definitely something I did for a long time. Like, you shouldn't be feeling this way. You've got to get all this stuff done. You got to go, go, go. I was stuck in like, I'm never doing enough because I'm not enough and I have to prove that I'm enough, and all that stuff from trauma pushed me into fight or flight states all the time, which pushed me into stress, hormones being released into my body, which pushed me into, as I've gotten older, damaging my hormones and my endocrine system and my thyroid and different things. Because again, we can't live in these states of depletion all the time. So again, it all traces back to trauma. It all traces back to nervous system dysregulation and being stuck in a trauma state. So I've been diving deep into nervous system regulation, finding ways to bring myself back into states of calm, whether that's placing a hand on the heart, a hand on the belly, hand on the head, and a hand on the heart, and just breathing with my eyes closed, or doing breath work, or moving my body when I notice that I'm triggered by something. So that's been a big piece I've been focusing on. And I think I hit all of those pieces. Yes. So nervous system regulation has been a big one, and teaching my body that it's safe, but also knowing that nervous system regulation isn't just like a one and done. Okay, like it's ongoing, because there's going to be different things in our life that trigger us. So it's getting really familiar with what triggers you, having a way to move the trigger through your body so it's not getting stuck and then showing up again later, like the issue getting stuck in the tissue. So it's really important to move it in the moment, even that if that's just like shaking it out of your body, right? Like an animal would. Like it was triggered, it got chased, and then it shakes because it needs to complete that cycle of trauma. Um, and what else do I want to say about nervous system stuff? And then, like yesterday, I just was sitting and I had several things I needed to do, right? And my typical mode of doing things is like get one task done, hurry up and do it, and move right into the next one. And instead, I finished the one task that was a physical task. And then I sat down and I just like breathed and I paused, because my nervous system, the fight or flight, the perfectionist, the anxiousness comes up like, we got to get the next thing done. And so, if once you start noticing that, you can start to notice how to bring yourself down, right? And so I said, no, we're going to sit down. We're going to take 5 to 10 minutes. I think I was on my phone, so that's not the most helpful, but at least I was just chilling. I think my cat jumped up and I let him sit on my lap and we just kind of sat there for 5 to 10 minutes. I drank some water. So I was like taking care of myself in that moment. And it's those little things. It sounds so little. It's huge. Because every time I do that, every time you do that, I highly suggest if this resonates with you to do that, you teach your nervous system how to calm back down. Sometimes we need our nervous system to be ramped up to finish a task, but we've also got to teach it how to calm back down. We have to teach our nervous system how to feel more feelings. Because if we've experienced trauma, when we're in states of arousal, even if it's like a good arousal, like excitement or joy, we can often shrink away from that because it's too much feeling is really hard on our nervous systems. Like when you experienced, getting screamed and yelled at as a child, right? That was like really shocking and it made you feel a lot of things. And it made you probably shut a lot of your own feelings down. And so we stop learning how to feel what it is that we feel. And I know that is true for me. Like I've had to learn over the years that it's safe to feel my feelings, but I'm still learning that. I'm still pushing the edges of my nervous system and showing it that we can have big experiences and come back to a state of calm or equilibrium. So that's a huge piece of what I'm working on. And if any of this resonates for you and you're like, I want to know more, I want to do more, um, and you want some support, I'm offering, it's going to come out at the end of this month as this video is getting recorded. It's April. So it's going to come out towards the end of April, but it'll be available later if you're watching this into the future. It's called the 7-Day Nervous System Reset. And it's a program I'm currently creating for people to learn how to regulate their nervous systems. Again, it's going to take more than 7 days to do this, but this program is going to give you so many tools to regulate your system and a way to do it safely and continuously over time. So send me an email if that sounds like something that you want, or just leave a comment here in this comment section and I will get that information to you. So lastly, the last thing I want to share, the other thing I've been working on is, so I'm a big believer in, an intuitive, I'm a healer, right? So I follow spirit. I really believe spirit speaks through me. And when I'm working with people, I know that spirit works through me. And so I'm a big believer in signs. And 3 times in 1 week, the medical medium's name dropped when I hadn't heard about him for like 10 years. I'd heard about him 10 years ago when I lived in Los Angeles, didn't hear anything about him since. And in 1 week, I hear his name 3 times. So I decided to investigate that a little bit further. I told a friend of mine, she actually had his book. So she let me borrow his very first book that's just called The Medical Medium. I started reading it and some of it started making so much sense to me. How he was talking about the thyroid, about adrenal fatigue, about hormonal issues, and how so many things in our Western medicine gets blamed on menopause or premenopause and women's hormones, and how he believes it's just a bunch of bullshit. And that he even talked about, like, if you're up in the middle of the night between the hours of like 2 and 4, that's this Epstein-Barr virus. Like, I don't know. I can't regurgitate everything that he said in the book, but I was just like, okay, what? Because that was like repetitive for me. I'd been up every night, just wide awake between the hours of like 2 and 4 in the morning. And then obviously that's very depleting, right? So he believes that all of our issues that we have, from cancer to chronic fatigue to chronic pain to Hashimoto's to thyroid, whatever, everything is caused from heavy metals and Epstein-Barr virus. Now, he says we all have heavy metals in our bodies, that those can even get passed down through the generations because, like your mom this is hard to describe, but I know some of you have heard this before. Your mom was actually an egg inside of your grandmother, and you were an egg inside of your mom. So it's like you were carried by your grandmother, and so on and so forth. So it's like the DNA, like whatever our this is another thing about trauma and how trauma gets passed down generation to generation because we are carried through that line, right? So whatever traumas your grandma or great grandma felt, you experienced on some level too. That's a story for another day. But Epstein-Barr virus, there's over 60 different strains. This is all according to the medical medium. This is not my information. This is regurgitated information from him. There's over 60 strains of it. He thinks we all have it. He thinks we all have heavy metals and that we're continuously getting them from our environment because our environment's very toxic, no matter how healthy you try to make it. And if we're not cleansing on a regular basis, that our livers are toxic, filled with all these toxins. It doesn't have the break it needs to properly cleanse, and so it kind of gets backed up, and then these toxins and neurotoxins from the Epstein-Barr virus and so on start to affect different areas of our body. Is the easiest and simplest way I can describe that. And so he suggests many different things. If you want more information, I recommend his book, Cleanse to Heal. But here's what I've been doing. I want to do one of his main cleanses soon. It's just I want to make sure that I have space to do that without teaching or something that I need to do at the end of it. And I'm not finding that on my schedule quite yet because I don't want to have to cancel things because I'm completely detoxing stuff. So what I'm doing right now is kind of his morning routine that he recommends. And that is you get up in the morning, you have 16 ounces of lemon water. So you basically just fill your cup with water and put half of a lemon in there. You drink that, then you wait 15 to 30 minutes and you juice. You juice it yourself. You don't go to somewhere else and have them juice it for you. You juice 16 ounces of celery juice, plain celery juice, nothing else in it. And I don't like celery, so yeah, I know that's probably sounds gross. If I can do it, you can do it. 'Cause I actually hate celery. And it doesn't taste that bad. It's not great. It's definitely not great, but it's not that bad. So you drink that, and then that's gonna like start to break up. So this whole process is to help your liver. Okay, so you don't do anything else but this. You don't eat anything else, whatever. So then you wait 15 to 30 minutes and you do his heavy metal detox smoothie. And the main ingredients in that are 2 cups of frozen wild blueberries. They have to be wild. 1 cup of fresh cilantro. All of these ingredients pull heavy metals out of your body. Like cilantro pulls them out of your brain. I know this sounds crazy. He, by the way, has channeled all of this from what he calls the spirit of compassion. So this was all channeled information that he's been using to heal millions of people over the last 20 some years. This isn't just like a fly by the night thing that just started yesterday. This has been happening for a long time. Then you do 1 teaspoon barley grass juice powder and 1 teaspoon spirulina and 1 tablespoon Atlantic Dulce. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that is Atlantic Dulce is a seaweed, and it's got a lot of iodine, and it also pulls heavy metals out. So those are the main ingredients, and then 1 orange, and then water. And you blend it all together, and it makes a beautiful smoothie that's kind of, here's a picture of it. It's very dark in color, and that recipe is in this book, but you can also find it other places online. Anyway, I can't say that I'm seeing tons of results. I actually feel a bit tired today, but I have been noticing that my sleep is better. Now, granted, I'm doing this, but I'm still drinking coffee, and I know that and I just allow myself 1 cup a day. I don't drink it all day long. I'm slowly getting ready to give that up, but it's so hard. It's so hard when you that's kind of been the drug I've relied upon because I felt so tired, right? So that one's gonna be a little bit harder to let go of. I do Nespresso. I have a very particular way that I make it. I can only make it this way, and I have 11 Nespressos left, so I'm not purchasing any more. Once those are done, and I'm gonna try to space them out, not do it every single day, then I'm gonna be done for a while. Of course, I can go to a coffee shop and get it, but we're really gonna practice. So on top of that, I've also given up eggs, dairy, gluten. I haven't fully given up corn yet, but I was eating something that had corn in it the other day. But I'm super not doing eggs, gluten, or dairy. Those are his top three no's because those feed the Epstein Barr virus, especially eggs is a big one. He talks about eggs a lot. Um, Also, with this morning routine, you don't eat anything else but that smoothie until noon. So there's no fats because the fats deplete the liver or stop the liver from fully doing its detox and its cleanse. So he's really big in like waiting to do any kind of fat. So any kind of nut butters, that kind of thing. If you get hungry other than the smoothie, he says to eat apples or pears. So it's kind of strict. Um, Obviously, I've not been doing it perfectly because I've been throwing a coffee in there. So I'm probably not even getting the benefits that I need. But I know myself, and I know if I don't ease my way into things that I can reverse the process, if you know what I mean. So I've eliminated those things. I'm slowly working on eliminating corn. No pork is another one. No soy. Soy has been a little bit harder too. I've had the soy sauce a couple times. But what else? So yeah, just trying to eat more. The other thing I've been doing is having. I'm not somebody that eats a lot of salads because I never feel like they fill me up. But I've been trying to do like a big salad with different veggies in there, just to get more raw food in my body, to get more greens and more nutrient dense foods in my body because I know I was kind of slacking on that a bit and kind of doing what was convenient, and not always thinking about the most nutrient dense foods. So those have been some things. I can't report again right now that it's been super life altering. I've been doing it about a week maybe now. But as I will say, I'm not waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning anymore. So that's huge. And I do feel like my belly area, because that was another thing. I'm a pretty thin person, but ever since all this hormonal diagnosis stuff, like my low belly has gotten way bigger than it's ever gotten before. I've started to notice that's kind of going down. So it's inflammation, right? Inflammation in our body, whatever it's caused from, whether it's caused from, heavy metals, Epstein Barr virus, or the food that we're eating, or a mixture of all three. Like when you start making changes like this, you're going to decrease the inflammation, which is going to bring life back to your tissues and the cells of your body. So I don't expect that this is going to be like a quick fix overnight thing, unless I really did his full on cleanse, which I, again, hope to soon. But we're going to take it day by day, adding in, again, more nutrients for my entire being. And yeah, check out his book if that's interesting to you. And if you want the nervous system regulation stuff, just send me a message here, or I mean, comment here. I will put a link to the program when it becomes available in this comment section. And just ask me any questions that you have about this and let me know your journey is. I'd love to hear from you. Do you struggle with any kind of chronic fatigue or pain or issues, autoimmune disorders? And, are you at that place where you're just at your wits' end? I mean, I was just at a place where, like, although his protocol is intense, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So sometimes you hit that rock bottom and you're just like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm willing to try this crazy ass morning routine, even though it's not fun and I don't like drinking celery juice. If it's going to help my body and help me release stuff that may be causing my chronic fatigue, the only thing that's made any sense to me this whole entire time, then so be it. And it also gives me a lot of hope because, as you get older and you hear, oh, hormonal issues and menopause, as a woman, you just think, oh, this is what I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. And that's kind of where I was settling. This is my life now. And this is kind of opening this door that's like, nope, it doesn't have to be that way. And there is hope. And yes, it's making some tough decisions and changes in my routine, but if it's going to help me, then it's worth it. All right, I think I've talked enough today. I just wanted to hop on and share that with you. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're struggling with this and if you want any support, reach out to me. I'm happy to help.